Rabotai, welcome back to another class on haezer Halacha series. We are continuing in Siman Aleph in Halacha Chet. This will be part 9 of the Shi'ur. We are doing the Bash today in Ot Tet Vav in Dibra Matchil, Eli Sa Vechulu. The Bash begins, Le'inyan Michiret Sever Torah Yeshkan Gimel Dinim. When it comes to selling the Sever Torah, you have 3 laws. The first law is going to be Michiret Sever Torah Bishvil Prurvu, selling the Sever Torah in order to be fruitful and multiply. Bet number 2, Bishvil Erev Al Tenach Yadcha, in order to sell the Sever Torah to not pull your hand back, meaning that you still have to bring more children in your old age. Gimel number 3, Kedei Shelo Yishev Belo Isha, that he shouldn't sit without a woman because we don't want him to come to sin. So we see from the Bash, under the umbrella of selling the Sefer Torah, there are 3 separate laws. We're going to go like this. Are you allowed to sell the Sefer Torah for the mitzvah of Purvu? Are you allowed to sell the Sefer Torah for the mitzvah of populating the world, meaning bringing more children even in your old age? And are you allowed to sell the Sefer Torah so a guy shouldn't be without a wife? In this one, everybody's going to agree you're allowed to sell the Sefer Torah, as we will see. In these 2, it's a machlokit. Now, where is this Bash going to take us? This Bash is going to tell us that he disagrees with the opinion of the Cham. The Cham said in the previous classes we saw that if a person is not able to sell the Sefer Torah, the other way around, Rabotai, I apologize. If a person is not able to marry any woman without first having to sell the Sefer Torah, the Cham said he's allowed to sell the Sefer Torah. Comes the Bash today and he's going to disagree with that. He's going to say that you're not allowed to go ahead and sell the Sefer Torah to marry a woman that is barren, as we'll see. So he begins, Vihine bishvil prurvu. When it comes to the mitzvah of Purvu, Mochrim Sever Torah Likul Amma. Everybody's going to agree that if it comes to the mitzvah of doing the mitzvah of being fruitful and multiply, everybody's going to agree you are allowed to sell the Sefer Torah so the guy can get married to a childbearing woman so she can allow him to do the mitzvah of Purvu. On this there is no machlokit. So one more time, when it comes to the mitzvah of Purvu, you are allowed to sell the Sefer Torah according to all opinions. When it comes to the mitzvah of populating the world by bringing more children to the world, this is a machlokit that the Shulchan Aruch brings down. And I'll explain. If you look carefully into the Shulchan Aruch in the Stam opinion, he says over there, Aval im yesh lo banim. This case is going on if a person does not have the ability to get married unless he sells the Sefer Torah. So the Shulchan Aruch says, Im yesh lo banim, if he has children, meaning if he did the mitzvah of Purvu, lo yimchor, he's not allowed to sell the Sefer Torah. Rather, he should marry a woman with the means that he has that is barren. But he shouldn't stay without a woman. So we see clearly over here from the Stam opinion, the Stam opinion is not concerned for the mitzvah of populating the world. Because he clearly says, you're not allowed to sell the Sefer Torah in order to go ahead and populate the world. Comes the Yesh Omrim, the Yesh Omrim say, what do you mean? The Yesh Omrim, and there are those that say, Shafilim Yesh Lo Banim, even if you have children. Meaning you did the mitzvah of Purvu. Yimchor Sefer Torah, sell the Sefer Torah, Kedei Shisa Isha Bat Banim, in order for him to go ahead and get married to a woman that is childbearing. Because the Yesh Omrim hold that there is still a mitzvah of L'Erev Al Tenach Yadcha. There's still a mitzvah of bringing more children to the world, even after you have fulfilled the mitzvah of Purvu. So that is what the Bash is telling us. Ubishvil L'Erev Al Tenach, when it comes to the mitzvah of bringing more children to the world, clearly says in Mavur b'Shulchan Aruch, it's explained in Shulchan Aruch Apel Guta. The machlokes, like I just explained, According to the Stam opinion, when it comes to the mitzvah of Erev Al Tinach Yadcha, you're not allowed to sell the Sefer Torah. According to the Yeshomrim, you are allowed to sell the Sefer Torah. So that is the machloket. Now, and this is what we want to see. Vidin Gimel, the third law. Bishvil shelo yishev below isha. In order for not to be without a woman, are you allowed to go ahead and sell the Sefer Torah? Comes the Bash and he says, and mivuar kan. It's not explaining the Shulchan Aruch. Meaning it's not explaining the Shulchan Aruch over here. Umatzinu pulguta beze, but we do find an argument in this. Now we're going to try to see from now until the end. We want to try to focus on this one point. Are you allowed to go ahead and sell a Sefer Torah in order for the guy not to be by himself? Where the Cham said, yes, you should sell the Sefer Torah, even if the woman is barren. The Bash is going to come, he's going to try to prove to us, you do not sell the Sefer Torah just to go ahead and make sure that the guy is without a woman. That we're not going to allow you to do, as we will see. So he says like this, Umatinu Pelguta Bezeh, we find in Machloket in the third halacha. Hanemuki Yosef, the Nemuki Yosef, Svirele, he holds, De'en Muchrim, you're not allowed to sell the Sefer Torah. Av Agav Becham Ratzah Lefaresh Divrei Nemuki Yosef Be'inin Acher, even though the Cham wanted to explain the words of the Nemuki Yosef in a different way, he wanted to say that the Nemuki Yosef agrees with the Cham, like we saw in Ot Yud in the Cham. Yes, I believe it was maybe part 7 of the Shur. The whole Cham, I believe it was part 6 and part 7 that we did on Siman Aleph and Halacha Chet. Now, so he says, even though the Cham wanted to explain the words of the Nemuki Yosef in a different manner, and nearly, he says, no, it doesn't seem to me like that. And so too the Beit Chadash understood that the Nemuki Yosef was not agreeing with the Cham. That Nemuki Yosef svirele de ein mochrim. He says clearly about that the Nemuki Yosef holds that you're not allowed to go ahead and sell a Sefer Torah in order to protect the guy that he should be with a woman. And this proof that the Cham brought from the words of the Trumat Adeshin, Shevi Behagad, that the Ramah brings it down Besamach later on, the Gerat Tevel Yishev Below Isha, because you have to remember, we saw according to the Ramah, if you guys remember, he said, what happens if you have children? You already did the mitzvah Puruvu. Now it's only a matter of marrying a woman who's argumentative, but she's childbearing. So the Ramah said, and he brought it in the opinion of the Trumat Adeshin, that if you're going to go ahead and marry a woman that is childbearing, but she's going to argue with your children, the Ramah said, in the name of the Trumat Adeshin, marry a woman who's not argumentative, but don't be without a wife. So we clearly see that the Ramah overlooks the mitzvah of bringing more children to the world, and he says, go ahead and marry the woman that's barren. So the Cham wanted to learn out from that Ramah, which calls the Trumat Adeshin. He wanted to say that if in that case where the Ramah overlooks the mitzvah of the Shev Yatzara, because to be without a woman is very bad, so the Cham wanted to say, so to me, I will go ahead and I will marry off a person through the money of the Sefer Torah, because I don't want him to be alone. Meaning to say like this, if you are allowed to go ahead and sell the Sefer Torah in order to fulfill the mitzvah, the Shev Yatzara, to populate the land, how much more so you should go ahead and try to protect a person that he shouldn't sin and think about other women through Sefer Torah, through selling the Sefer Torah. So that's what he says over here. And this what the Cham brings a proof from the words of the Trumat Adeshin that the Ramah is going to bring later on. Because it's worse, it's more worse off to be without a woman. Yes, Lomar, he says, you can say like this. You can bring me a proof from there. Why? When it comes in regards to selling the Sefer Torah, it's different. The tzarich lasot b'damim mitzvah v'lo hatzalat avera. You have to do with the money of the Sefer Torah mitzvah, and not to go ahead and try to save a person from an Avera. When the Cham wanted to bring us a proof from the Ramah, which calls the Trumat Adeshin, that you should go ahead and marry a barren woman as long as the children don't fight, so you see over there clearly that it's worse off for a guy to be without a woman than bringing more children to the world. So good. So we see how severe that is. So then the Cham says, I'm going to allow us to sell the Sefer Torah in order for this guy to go ahead even get married to a woman who's barren, as long as he's not alone. But the Bash is saying you can't compare the two things. Why? Because the Trumat Adeshin is speaking about a situation where we are afraid that the children are going to go ahead and they're going to argue with their stepmother. The stepmother that's childbearing, because she's very argumentative. Rabotai, if you want to get a better picture of the Cham, please listen to part 6 and part 7. I don't want to go through every single detail. But let's go back over there. The Trumat Adeshin speak about a certain situation. Because they're going to argue, therefore he says, go ahead and marry yourself off to a woman who's barren. Instead of marrying yourself to a woman who's childbearing, but you're always going to fight. Comes the Bash and he says, that over there you could do because Sefer Torah is not involved. But in our case, you Cham want to use that case for our case of the selling Sefer Torah, that you cannot do. Why can't you do it? Because when you sell a Sefer Torah, you want to be able to sell the Sefer Torah to be able to do a mitzvah with it. But what are you doing, the Cham? The Bash is telling the Cham, what are you doing? You want to sell the Sefer Torah, so you want to save the guy from an Avera. That you don't do that you do not do with the money of the Sefer Torah. So let's see that one more time. This what the Cham brought, the proof from the Trumat Adeshin that the Haggah brings later on, the Garat that it's worse off to be without a woman. You can't bring those two proofs. Why? You can't bring that proof over here. Yes, Tomar, because you can say Le'inyan Michirat Sefer Torah, when it comes to selling Sefer Torah, Shani is completely different. The tzarich lasod b'damim mitzvah v'lo hatzlat avera. You need to go ahead and you need to do mitzvah with the money of the Sefer Torah and not to save a person from avera. V'haramban b'milchomet Hashem, and the Rambam in the Milchomet Hashem, serially dimachrim. He says you are allowed to go ahead and sell the Sefer Torah. So the guy shouldn't be without a woman. And he says like this: and then when you are forced to sell the Sefer Torah, and then when you are forced to sell the Sefer Torah, when we are selling the Sefer Torah, we have to make sure that this guy marries a childbearing woman. But if it's impossible for him to go ahead and get married to a childbearing woman, even with the money of the Sefer Torah, he's allowed to go ahead and he's allowed to marry a woman that is not childbearing. So we see clearly from the Ramban in Milchomet Hashem, he says you are allowed to go ahead and sell the Sefer Torah for the guy to go ahead and get married. But he makes a condition. When you are forced to sell the Sefer Torah, you need to make sure that he marries a woman that is childbearing. However, he says, but if it's impossible for him to marry a woman that is childbearing with the money of the Sefer Torah, clearly says, he clearly says he's allowed to marry a woman that is not childbearing. So we see from the Ramban that he does hold like the Cham. So the Bash brought the opinion of the Nemuki Yosef, not like the Cham. He brought the Trumat Adeshin, and he wants to say that it's also not going like the Cham's opinion. So you have two. You have the Nemuki Yosef, and we knocked away the Trumat Adeshin, what the Cham wanted to bring as a proof. But now you have the Ramban. The Ramban basically we have like this. We have the Nemuki Yosef says you're not allowed to sell the Sefer Torah, so the guy shouldn't be by himself. The Ramban says you are allowed to go ahead and sell it. Just the Ramban made a condition. Try to marry a woman that's childbearing. If you can't find her, then marry even a barren woman. So we have the Nemuki Yosef against the Ramban. If you are allowed to go ahead and sell the Sefer Torah, in order for the guy not to be by himself, what are we going to decide? Comes the Bash and he says, in this machloket, that is between the Nemuki Yosef and the Ramban, lo shaykh lahachmir. It's not worth it for one to go ahead and be stringent. What do I mean? Don't try to go ahead and be stringent by doing what the Ramban says, by selling the Sefer Torah in order to marry him off to a woman. Even a barren woman. Don't do it. Don't be stringent. Why? He explains, Ki hachumra, because this stringency of marrying off this guy with the money of the Sefer Torah, it's a leniency when it comes in regards to selling the Sefer Torah. That means to say, basically, if I can put it to you in my words, when you're marrying off this guy with the money of the Sefer Torah, you're being machmir like the Ramban, because you want him to be without a woman, because you want him to think of bad thoughts. Fine. But now, in a way, you are degrading the Sefer Torah, because now you're being lenient by selling it. And that's not showing it respect, because like the Bash wanted to say, when it comes to Sefer Torah, when it comes to doing mitzvah, maybe the money of the Sefer Torah should be used for mitzvah purposes, but not to save people from haezer. So that is the way the Bash concludes. So we see clearly over here, the Bash clearly disagrees with the Cham. The Bash is going to tell you, when it comes to the matter, that if it's only for the sake of making sure that the guy doesn't stay without a woman, so should we sell the Sefer Torah or not? The Bash is going to tell you, if that's the only reason, do not sell the Sefer Torah. Do not sell. That's not a good enough reason to sell the Sefer Torah. So we see clearly the Bash argues on the Cham. However, the Bash does bring another opinion, the Rosh. And he says, don't bring me a proof from the Rosh, because the Rosh does say that it seems from him that you could sell the Sefer Torah. So he says like this, Ve'en lahavi ra'aya midivra Rosh. Do not bring me a proof from the words of the Rosh, shekatav, that he wrote, L'shidat aposkim de'en mocher Sefer Torah, according to the ones that want to hold, according to the opinions, according to the rabbis, that say you're not allowed to sell the Sefer Torah, it says that de'en mocher Sefer Torah, meaning you're not allowed to sell the Sefer Torah. The Rosh wants to learn those poskim like this. She'ena mechuyav limchor Sefer Torah. You guys are with me or not? You're not obligated to go ahead and sell the Sefer Torah, to marry off this guy that he shouldn't be without a woman. One more time, Rabotai. I don't know if you guys are getting it. Let me see something. 1 second. Why would be like this? Okay. I want to show you something. I hope you guys get it. Watch this. When the other poskim, the other rabbis say the Eda Mocher, that you're not allowed to sell the Sefer Torah, the Rosh wants to understand their words. What means the Eda Mocher, that you're not allowed to sell the Sefer Torah? He wants to learn She'ena Michuyav. He's adding this word right here. When they say the Eda Mocher, the Rosh wants to understand these poskim that you're not obligated to sell. But the problem is, the Bash is going to go ahead and he's going to try to defend that this cannot be the case. Watch. So one more time, Rabotai. One more time. Do not bring me a proof from the words of the Rosh, Shekatav, because that he wrote, L'shita Poskim, according to the Poskim that hold, the Eina Mocher Sefer Torah, when the Poskim that hold that you shouldn't sell the Sefer Torah, the Rosh wants to define those words, that you're not obligated to sell the Sefer Torah. Mashma, it's implied, that if he wants to sell, the permission is in his hands to sell. Which is implied from over here clearly, that according to the Rosh, that if a person wants to go ahead and sell the Sefer Torah to marry a woman, not to be without a woman, clearly says, you see, you could do it. He says, do not bring me this proof from the Rosh. Why? Because we can say, Harosh le'ta'amo azil, because we can say the Rosh went according to his own opinion. This really because he held, Yachid Rashai limchor Sefer Torah. When you're dealing with an individual, he's allowed to go ahead and sell the Sefer Torah. כמו שכתוב באור החיים שם, look into the Beit Yosef, Siman Kuf Nun Gimel, b'Shulchan Aruch Seif Yud. You know something? Let me see something. Shulchan Aruch Seif Yud in Or Chaim. Kuf Nun Gimel. I have it over here. I should have it over here. 1 second, guys. Let me see something. Kuf Nun Gimel. It's not there. Let's see. You know, so let's see the halacha. What the Rosh really holds over there. So just to have it clear, but doesn't matter. But however you want to look at it, the Kuf Nun Gimel, the Bash says, don't bring me proof from there. The reason being is because he's going to his own opinion. Bottom line, we saw here today that the Bash did argue on the Cham. Halacha Yud. Let's see this. Here. Yes. Okay, so look what it says in Siman Kuf Nun Gimel and Halacha Yud. It says like this: Yesh omrim the yachid b'shalo. That if you deal with an individual that it's his, afilu sefer Torah mutar limchoro. He's even allowed to sell his Torah, his sefer Torah. V'lasod b'damav kol ma sheyirtzeh. He's allowed to do with his money whatever he wants. Kol shelo higdisho likrot berabim. As long as he did not separate it, he did not sanctify that it should be read in public, meaning for the many. V'yesh mishoser, but however, you have some that want to answer it. Elim ken l'lmod Torah ol yisa isha. Unless he wants to go ahead and learn Torah, he's allowed to sell, like we saw before, and he's allowed to go ahead and, or he wants to sell to marry a woman. In any event, Rabotai, that's all I wanted just to see. We see according to the Rosh that he learns that when you're dealing with the Yechid, let me see something. I want to see. What I feel so to Samach. דאף בגזו מותר ואין הדמים בקדושים מכל מקום לכל עמה אין רואה סימן ברכה בדמים אלו וכן כתב אל ירבה. Fine. Number 16. Okay. Rabotai, the Bishop says, he said the Old Tamid wrote that even though according to the opinion you're allowed to go ahead and use that money for anything else, and the money does not have any sanctity, nevertheless, he'll never see any blessing from this money. And so to the Eli Rabba wrote it, and also it's brought down in the Tzionim, in the Amudei HaOrah Mishnah Berurah, says Halacha Berurah also brings down the Sif Lamed Daled. I guess in Siman Kuf Nun Gimel and Sif Lamed Daled in Rav David Yosef Shlita's book. In any event, let's get back over here. So we see over here, that's all. Rabotai, this is it. But one more time. Don't bring me a proof from the words of the Rosh. That according to the ones that say that you're not allowed to sell the Sefer Torah, he wanted to define those words. That you're not obligated to go ahead and sell the Sefer Torah. That's implied that if he wants to go ahead and sell the Sefer Torah, the permission is his. Don't bring me proof from there that, oh, you see from over here, maybe you could sell the Sefer Torah, so the guy shouldn't be without a woman. No, you can't say that. Why? Because you can say that the Rosh went according to his own reasoning. That an individual is allowed to go ahead and sell his Sefer Torah. Kimo shekad Or Chaim Sham in Kuf Nun Gimel and Halacha Yud, like it's brought down Or Chaim over there in chapter 153, Halacha Yud. In any event, Rabotai, let's try to go ahead and just summarize the Bash, and we will conclude with the Bash for this. We see from the Bash said that there are 3 laws when it comes to selling the Sefer Torah. Are you allowed to sell the Sefer Torah when it comes to the mitzvah of Purvu? Everybody's going to agree, yes. Are you allowed to sell the Sefer Torah when it comes to the mitzvah of populating the world? Machlokit, between the Stam and the Yesh. Like I explained in the Shulchan Aruch. Are you allowed to go ahead and sell the Sefer Torah in order to protect the guy that he shouldn't be without a woman because we want to save him from sin? We saw that according to the Bash, he brought the Nimuki Yosef that says no. He brought the Ramban that says yes. And he said, do not be stringent like the Ramban and use the money of the Sefer Torah to marry off a guy because you don't want him to be by himself. Why is that, Rabotai? Because if you're going to be machmir by the marriage case, you're being lenient by the Sefer Torah, by the selling of the Sefer Torah, which in a way you're showing a disrespect. And then he said, don't bring me the words of the Rosh, where he wants to learn the rabbis that say you're not allowed to sell the Sefer Torah. He wants to learn it to mean you're not obligated to sell the Sefer Torah. But if I really wanted to, I can. Don't bring me proof from the Rosh. Why? Because when you're dealing with an individual person's Sefer Torah, the halachot are completely different. Over there he says you're allowed to, so therefore you cannot come and bring this proof over here. Rabotai, we will conclude with this. Baruch Adonai Olam, Amen ve'amen.